you have a great talent for working with other people. I mean, so many filmmakers that we meet on the non-commercial scene are great individualists, but don't
Yeah.
play nicely with others. Whereas you seem to be the opposite. And how did you come across and use your cast?
Well, Stacey Hart, who plays the lead, obviously, she was in Selfie, she was in Addict, she was in 8 Ball. She's also got a bit in a film called Dark Shade of Red. So we've been sort of like friends for a long time, and I absolutely, as an actor, she is absolutely just the best. So she was a given. Then we did a casting call on a website called Casting Call Pro. So we announced one of the characters for the female band, and then we had somewhere in the region of about 100 to 110 people apply, which is phenomenal. And then what myself and Pete did, we whittled it down to about 10 to 15, which is really incredibly hard because you're only going by on a picture and a show reel. Sometimes you just look at someone and said, no, they're not going to fit, so you can discard them. And sometimes you watch the show reel and you just think, no, don't know, doesn't not giving me the right vibe. And then we whittled it down, and there was like I think Joanna Stanton, who plays our bassist, she put her show reel forward. And I just love her look, and her acting ability is fab. So what I did with Joanna Stanton is, because this was before I'd shot Smile, I said, we went out for a coffee, and I said, would you just be in this film I'm doing called Smile? I just want to play the boss. There's only a couple of lines, but it'll get me to know how you work and all the rest of it. And she just nailed the character in Smile, and then when it came to Dead Air, I said she's got to be in it. And then we had got Kate Davies Speak, who we knew from her Twitter following mostly. She does this thing called Showreel Share Day. So what happens is 1 or 2 days every year where a lot of actors will post their showreel online, and they'll use the hashtag Showreel Share Day. And then the idea is that you can go on Twitter, type that hashtag in, and you're going to see thousands and thousands of actors' showreels, And so we'd heard of her through that. And I'd seen some clips of her in a horror film, and we just kind of said, we really like her. She really is just super cool in that film. So we just dropped her a mail and said, would you be interested? And the thing with Kate is I just was amazed at how fast she replied to me, because I remember dropping her a message saying, I've just seen your showreel, really like it. We're going to be making this sort of fun little horror comedy short. Would you be interested? And literally within 2 seconds, she'd replied with her email address and said, yeah, let's have a chat, and bang. And that fell into place completely. So we went back to Showreel Share Day, and then we found Charlie Bond from that. And she just basically, when we did auditions, when we found Joanna, we'd given out this script, and most people said it pretty much in the exact same way as what we'd asked for. But when we gave it to Charlie, she delivered the lines in a way we hadn't even thought about. And I said, that's the one. So me and Pete both agreed with Charlie, and so that was our band. Other actors, so we also had James Hamer Morton, who plays our co-pilot. Now we always loved James anyway, because I'd worked with James on a film called The Fitzroy. I was filming behind the scenes on that, and I'd met him there, and he was just incredibly fun. He'd also worked with Lauren Shotton, who was starred in Karen's Room and one of my films earlier. So I said to James, I'd love to work with you. I like your style. So I kind of had already cast him as the co-pilot. And then when we were thinking about the pilot in the film, because James had worked with David Sharl, you recognise him from shows like The In-Betweeners and The Office and stuff like that. I just couldn't picture anyone else. So I just said to James, I said, would you put me in contact with David? Because David and James have become really good friends. And he said, yeah, sure. So we got in contact, and then the Fitzroy had a cast and crew screening in London, and I was invited to go. So I went along, and David was there, and we had a chance to chat face to face. And he said, yeah, I'm in, you know. So that was David. Yeah. And then the last one we had was the manager of the band. Now we went through a couple of different iterations, and all these contacts were made just by dropping them a mail.
This is what really fascinates me, Geoff. So when you send someone an email out of the blue like that, do you put anything in the email to actually show them your credentials? Or
I don't know if I do. I can't remember. I'll tell you, there was something that did happen. We wrote to a Hollywood actor called Lance Henriksen, who I'm a massive fan. He stars in like Near Dark. He was in The Terminator. I'm a huge fan of Lance, and I got hold of his email address through IMDb Pro. I sort of did a free trial of it so I could get some email addresses, and I wrote to him via that. It ended up being his wife, I think, and she just said, we've spoken to Lance. Could you send us the script? And I'm like, whoa, Lance Henriksen wants to read the script. So I sent it to him, and then a little while later said, yeah, he's in. Right. So for a period of time, we had Lance Henriksen on board, and the character, he wasn't playing a character. So we got these little creatures in the film, like little furry things. I'd asked him if he would mind doing the voices of the creatures. I said, so no actual acting, just making lots of funny noises. And the reason I decided to ask him is because I knew that he was going to be in England at a Comic-Con, and it was in Southampton, I think, and which isn't that far away from me. And I thought I could just nip down with my Zoom H4n, stick it under his nose, and just spend sort of 20 minutes with him making some funny noises. And but we, he had to pull out as well for financial reasons. So up until a certain point, we had him on board, and I was just being nice. I think that's the thing, is I don't try and make things look too big. And I think the fact that I've got a history now, you can go on IMDb and you can see that I've been making stuff. You know that I'm not just any old tin pot person just making anything rubbish. Hopefully, people seem to like working with me. They think I'm quite a nice person. I think. I always say you have to have fun on my sets whenever I make a film, because if you're not having fun, then you're not. If you're not being paid to do it, then you need to have fun. Yeah. Because if you're hating it and all the rest of it, then, man, this is not for you. But yeah, so there's a long shot. And the other person I missed off was Dan Palmer. So we originally had Lawrence Harvey down, and he had to pull out. And then we were sort of trying to think, and all the way through casting of the manager, Peter Hearn, the writer, he kept saying, Dan Palmer. And I'd always think of someone else, because I didn't really know who Dan Palmer was at that time. And then eventually he just sort of threw me his showreel under my nose just when we knew that Lawrence Harvey couldn't do it. And I went, oh, Dan's good. See, so, and then because Pete's an actual fan of Dan, Pete's got all of his films on DVD and stuff. He wrote to him and said, look, we'd love you to be in this film. It's 2 days max. Here's the script and all the rest of it. And Dan sort of like chatted with us both for a bit, and he said, oh, go on then. And so I think Pete only wanted to do it just so that he could get Dan to autograph his DVDs for him. But yeah, so we were really chuffed to get Dan on board as well. And he was an incredible guy. He was so funny. Yeah, but then the other actors that I have are the puppeteers, because we had Andrew James Spooner, as I mentioned before, who worked on all the Muppet, or some of the Muppet movies and all the rest of it. He was our puppet coordinator, and then he brought in a bunch of guys like Tony Limbo, Anna Sainsbury, Nick and Nikki, Nick Buckmaster, and between that group, are all very, very talented puppeteers who've worked on lots of kid shows, and some of them work on Alton Towers doing puppet shows there and things. And then between Andrew and his team, they brought all of our creatures to life, because I had to go put my hand up, up their bums and doing that. And it looked awful. But when you give it to these people, they just breathe life into them. And it's such a skill that I didn't really appreciate until I'd worked with them. So absolutely loved working with all of them. They're just incredible. And all for a pie and a pint.
Well, fair number of pies and pints over several days. Yes.
Yeah.